Hi, everyone. So, I've spent the last 4 years going to the gym. I just hit my 4 year anniversary of going to the gym yesterday, the 16th of October. So, honestly, I wrote down 8 specific lessons that I've learned from my time in the gym. It's over 1,200 days. So, I just kind of wanted to share exactly what it is that I've been learning throughout this time process. So much growth, so much change, so much identity loss, so much heartbreak and pain and just so much within that time frame that the gym has been a an anchor for all of these experiences that I've had, and the gym has just been such a precious place to be in for an hour of my day. And yeah, let's get into these lessons because there's been a lot going on. So, let's get into it. Number one, pain is a catalyst for change and must be taken advantage of rather than repressed. Yeah. So when I was in the hyperbolic time chamber, and what I mean by that is when I was depressed, lonely, anxious, unconfident, overweight, inside of my room every single day listening to Mr. Kitty while high on weed, I had this moment where I was just feeling so much raw energy and emotions coursing through every ligament, every crevice of my body. And there came a moment where I was fucking tired. I was tired of loathing, hating, being unsatisfied with myself, that I really picked up my head and thought to myself, I'm tired of being in this position. I'm tired of crying over this circumstance that happened. And so what I did was something crazy. I just went to the gym. And I learned very quickly that my rage, my anger that I was repressing and no longer kept keeping it inside, making it more, giving myself more tension and making this ball even bigger. I was able to release it and channel that energy into something that was much more positive for me rather than just sitting with these emotions that I repressed, didn't want to look at, was trying to hide away from with weed. Instead, I used them and really discovered how crucial, beneficial, and important these emotions are to feel, but also to use them for your better benefit as opposed to something that is just going to contribute to your negative, depressive cycle. So when you feel pain, take advantage of it, take pride in it, because when you do it, it'll likely change you into a person completely different from who you are right now, one who is grateful that the pain that you feel happened in the first place. Yeah. Take advantage of your pain. Take pride in your pain because it is yours. And honestly, you become some form of alchemist, somebody who turned negative into positive. And you really truly find out how gentle you are on the other side of pain. Number two, the gym is the best distraction for a breakup. 1000%. Look, the reason why I was very depressive and anxious and sad and lonely and heartbroken was because I got into a breakup myself, and I eventually learned about how capable and competent and truly capable I was as an individual, but it came after this breakup. You see, I identified myself with this person so much to the point that whenever I was with them, I felt complete and whole, and without them, I felt the polar opposite. Even though I was just a bad boyfriend, I wasn't somebody that was even you would identify as a good boyfriend overall. I just liked the convenience or how comfortable they made me feel or how seen and understood they made me feel. So I just liked being around them. But I tied my identity to this person. So once that person was gone, it stripped them away from me. And it stripped my identity from myself as well. So as opposed to sitting inside of your room listening to Mr. Kitty and drowning your thoughts with weed, go forward and doing another positive distraction like the gym, because most people are using vices to forget and wash off the thoughts and the emotions that they're feeling, only for them to get worse over a long period of time. You see people going to clubs, drinking alcohol, trying to find other partners, trying to have sex with anybody they can have sex with to avoid and distance themselves from this raw source of energy that's going on inside of their bodies. And as opposed to doing that, as opposed to going and drinking alcohol and drowning your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, etc., to try to distance yourself from these thoughts, Instead, go and use them to be able to feel better after. So the gym is the best distraction for that. Honestly, at the end of the day, distraction is actually a pivotal thing to do after a breakup. You got to distract yourself. Now, I'm not talking about going and smoking alcohol or smoking weed, drinking alcohol, and inhibiting yourself. I'm talking about go and make use of your time rather than sitting with your time. It's easy to be heartbroken when you're thinking about how miserable you are and how good it was in the past. But when you're taken up by gym, exercise, healthy lifestyle, good eating, hanging out with friends, that is hard. It's hard to really truly feel good at the end of doing something negative than it is from doing something positive. And when you have that circumstance, when you have that moment when you're hanging out with friends or you're hitting the gym, you feel better about yourself. So yes, distraction's very pivotal for a breakup, but the gym is the best distraction because you immerse yourself into the exercise as a whole. Whereas before, you're just sitting in your room contemplating, thinking about what you could have done. But when you're in the gym, you're not thinking about any of that. You're thinking about how am I going to get this 140 pounds off of my chest? And when you do, you feel prideful. You feel better. You feel confident about yourself because you did something that was originally hard and something that you didn't think that you would have done, but you did. And in that exchange, you grow more self-respect, healthier self-esteem, and in the process, you get to see yourself with a pump. And for some reason, the pump is so interesting because you literally see who you potentially can be. You get a glimpse into the future. And if you stay consistent and disciplined and show up consistently, you can become that person in the mirror who you identify yourself as strong, capable, and competent. You know, like the gym literally has a time traveling component to it because you can see and get a glimpse of who you can be in the future if you just keep going. That's why the gym is the best distraction for a breakup, because after going to the club, having sex with a girl, drinking so much alcohol, well, you're down $100. You're in a completely different city. And guess what? You got to be at work the next day and now you're hungover. Whereas if you go to the gym, well, yeah, you still have those thoughts that swirl the moment you leave the gym, but you have like a token of understanding. You have a token of self-respect for yourself because you did something that you didn't think you would do. And that little grain, that little seed of self-respect can grow into so much more if you just compound it and continuously work on it. I feel like this. Yeah, that was too bright. Okay. Number 3, rely on consistency, not motivation. I know you've done it. I know you've done it before. I know you. All right. I know that you've been up at midnight and you start cranking down push-ups and you start doing sit-ups and you start glimpsing on what the future can be. You think about how you're going to get 6-pack abs. You think about how you're going to get extremely rich so you can prove other people wrong. You're thinking about your wife and what your future is going to look like and that you're going to own a business, etc., etc. This is in and of itself 17-year-old motivation. And I myself was there. I myself was there all the time where I was cranking down these push-ups just thinking about what my future would look like and having so much motivation, being in awe of this motivation that I was going to make it happen. Until the next day, I saw a cheeseburger right in front of my face and I bit into it. You can't drag over the reward in 30 days or less. You can't possibly get 6-pack abs in a snap of a finger. The fad diet isn't going to work. The no eating diet isn't going to work. What truly works is the long journey. I like to say it, which is the long path is the shortcut, because you build yourself into the type of person that can maintain the habits. In the process of you being able to maintain those habits or build upon those habits, you're able to make happen the goal that you want. So at the end of it, even if you don't receive the reward at the end, You can still work your way onto it because you've made it into a habit, you've made it into a lifestyle, but you've also been able to manage it to the point where you can maintain it in the future, so that way you won't lose it. But then as a result of you building those habits, staying consistent, you're then much more likely to achieve the result as a result. So yeah, it's not about doing this exhaust velocity, high motivation work. It's not all about velocity and 100 miles per hour. It's about moving and ensuring that the car reaches the destination rather than trying to get to the destination as fast as possible. And most people get trapped in that cycle of, okay, I'm motivated, I'm gonna make it happen. Motivation, oh, it's this raw sort of masculine energy, and I'm gonna make it happen in like 4 days. But there's a lack of understanding on what change is truly like. And change, the only way to make change is by getting rid of things that no longer serve the person that you want to be, implementing new tiny habits that can slowly but surely build you into the type of person that you want to be, so that way you can start receiving those shiny new outcomes. I'm telling you, it is not about motivation. It's about staying consistent and showing up and doing those tiny new behaviors repeatedly over and over again until you finally identify yourself as a completely different person. It's not about motivation. It's about staying consistent and being able to have the discipline to stay consistent. Yeah, consistency is always going to trump 1000%. Okay, number 4. Yes, this one's good. Where do I want to start? Number 4, you have more control in your life than you may think. Yeah, you have way more control in your life than you may think. That's certain. That's a certainty. You have more control in your life than you may think, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say it one more time. I'm sorry if this is... You have so much more control over your life than you may think you do. We have agreements that we've come to the conclusion that we are of this way. Therefore, we cannot change it. That it's this fixed state that we are this way forever. And I can't think of a more vicious, more harmful, more terrible way of living than thinking that this is your life and that you cannot change it. It's fucking bullshit. It's stupid. Most people believe that they don't have control over their lives and that this, at this moment, is a permanent fixed state, and that because of how they were raised, because their parents have diabetes, because I simply can't, that I'm stupid, I'm too much of this way, we're too... It blows my mind. It blows my mind. Because me personally, this isn't all about me, but this is me trying to promote or highlight the fact that I was on the same mindset, that I wasn't talented enough, that I had issues with sleep, that I had a sleep disorder, so I couldn't make it happen because I wasn't getting enough rest, that I was stupid. I literally believed that I was fucking stupid. So stupid that so much to the point that I went out into the world and found and gave myself evidence convincing me that I was stupid. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. I went out into the world because of the narrative that was in my head, based on how my parents raised me, based on how my brothers treated me when I was a kid, that I had these limiting beliefs about myself, that I was stupid. Therefore, I went out into the world and convinced myself of its certainty. I had this idea that it was permanent, that this was a fixed state of being George, that there was no possibility of changing this, that I was this way, and that there is no changing this. Fast forward, 63 pounds lost. And you have this surge of happiness, and you betrayed your previous self. You betrayed the ideas that they had. You betrayed the philosophies they had. And you wrangled out and you dragged out and pulled out this version of you that you had no idea was inside of you. And throughout discovering and coming to that conclusion and having that transformation and that change, you come to realize that people are inhibiting themselves with their own agreements and their own words and their own ideas. So frequently, people are living inside of this dream that probably isn't what they created themselves. And it limits them from being able to be who they want to be, from having the type of control that they want to have in their life. And you start seeing it around everyone else because you were that way too. So frequently, people may believe that they don't have control over their life, when in reality, you truly do. It's just identifying that you have responsibility and you need to take accountability for the actions that you partake in, because those are ultimately the outcomes that happen from what you did in the past. So if I put in certain inputs from day in and day out and I do the same thing over and over again and it leads to this outcome, well, I'm going to repeat that cycle over and over again. It's just unbelievable. We are raised, we're human sponges, bro. We are human fucking sponges. We are animals that are capable of growing. We have something in our brain called neuroplasticity, which expands our brain based on the experience that we deal with. We have the capacity to build muscle. We have the capacity to be more attentive. We have the intangibles are already inside of us for growth, for adapting, for improving. It's mind-boggling that most of us don't think that we're capable of making some form of change when God literally gave us the gifts of being able to grow and become better versions of ourselves. I wrote a lot about this one. And to the people who say they've lived life and have no experience, no depth, no change, just winding down the clock and reliving the same felt experience, I'm sorry, but that's not living life. That's life having its grip on you, preventing you from living it and actualizing it and realizing it and seeing the beauty that comes from it by actually fucking trying. You're so much more capable of change than you think. You're so much more capable of change than you may think. Man, I really want to hammer this home, but you're so much more capable of change than you may think. I don't know who needs to hear that one. But those thoughts that you have that you can't do this, or the responses that people have towards you when you say you want to do something, don't fucking believe them. Don't believe you can't do this. Just take it easy. Don't move. Think about if you're gonna get a job. What if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? If you have this tiny, I talked about it earlier, this token of self-respect, if you have this token of a thought that keeps creeping itself up that you should try this thing, follow your own sense of intuition. Because if you follow what everybody else is saying, if you follow what everyone else expects of you, you're going to be a clone of who they are. So instead, just listen to one person. Not just you, but listen to the man above. That's a huge one. That man is insane. God is good. But he gave us the obligation to look after us and take care of us. And if you don't think you're capable of change, then something is wrong inside of the internal system, inside of your thoughts, that somebody wrangled and put their hands in there and changed the wiring to make you believe that you're not capable of change. Where truly, the thoughts that you have, the ideas that you have, the looking up to someone who has the things that you want, but not yet being there, you're capable of becoming that type of person if you just listen inherently, internally, listen to your intuition. Because you're so much more wiser than you may think. And yeah, that's literally the best way I could put it, dude. You have more control in your life than you may think. Maybe there's more words that are coming out, but at this point, I think I'm just going too much onto it. So, yeah, you have more control over your life than you may think. Number 5, the gym raises your standards. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Certain foods that you ate in the past will change. The indulgences that you once loved will change. In growing yourself into someone who's much more capable, competent, confident, you begin to see what no longer serves you or is attributable to your brand or the type of person that you are. And once you identify those things about who you are and who you're not, it's easier to say yes to the things that are you rather than continuously saying the things that are no longer you. The gym changes. There's a plane. I always have my window open, so I just like looking out into nature. It makes me think better. But the gym raises your standards because people who ultimately grow just want to make their life better. And if you're somebody who is constantly reflective, somebody who is self-aware, somebody who's driven, when you reach a certain state because of the gym is like the opening of the gates of this entire process and this whole ordeal of trying to become a better individual. But yeah, it raises your standards because ultimately you don't want to stagnate and you don't want to go back. And when you yourself, I'm hungry. When you yourself have improved, you want to see in others what you see in yourself. And those are the persons or the people that you can ride with. Those are the people that you can identify yourself with. Those are the people that you can build communion with. And if they're not among the lines of you, whether they go to the gym, whether they read books, whether they write, whether they are working on their future or working on their purpose or intentional with God, whatever it may be, if they're not doing those things, you can identify, okay, this isn't for me. This person isn't for me. This business venture isn't for me. You really start to figure out and identify your values as a person. But it all started from going to the gym. And it bleeds into every single aspect of your life, from your work, from your relationship, from your career, from your relationship with God. It really sets the pace and sets the tempo of what your life is going to be moving forward. It raises your standards so much more. And yeah, I really appreciate it for what it was doing in that time frame. But you identify your values as a person. You identify what it is that you want in a wife, in a spouse, in yourself. You identify the people that you want to surround yourself with. You identify everything. You identify everything, literally everything. And yeah, honestly, I'm getting the idea that this is just going to be a podcast episode, not a YouTube video, which makes sense. But everything, you learn everything from this place. And had you not stepped inside of the gym, you wouldn't have stewarded yourself into the person that you are right now. And literally all of the good things that have happened in your life came not solely from the gym, but from stepping foot inside of the gym, because it broadened the horizon of your mindset. It broadened the capacity or the capability of everything else that comes into your life as good. And yeah, the gym is just this place that over a long period of time expands you into a person that is capable of obtaining new things, trying new things out, experiencing new people, getting into relationships or meeting friends that are in the similar sphere or aligned in terms of values, in terms of relationships, in terms of attitude towards one another. It sets the pace and truly raises your standards as an individual, and things that are not aligned are very easy for you to say no to, where things that are aligned are very easy for you to say yes to. And I owe that a lot to the gym. Number 6, since we only got 5 more minutes, I'm probably gonna, all your problems can't be solved underneath a barbell. Yeah, this is not just gym, right? Obviously this is just a gym podcast, but exercise in general, where, dude, I used to work out 7 days a week because it was just my general coping mechanism. Yeehaw, right? I coped. I worked out. But I guess you could call it coped out, because, man, the inadequacies that I felt, how much of a failure I felt, how little I wanted to spend my time with my thoughts, even though I was using my thoughts as a form of content. It was so interesting. I was working out 7 days a week, going to the gym 6 times a week. At the moment, at the time, it felt like motivation and it felt like drive and this fire inside of my chest. But reflecting on it now, I think it was just because I had no other better use of my time than to work out. And in some ways, that can be some along the lines of dependency, that I had this relationship or this kinetic sort of relationship with the gym. But I realized that there are a plethora of topics that I wanted to discuss, but there's these challenges that I couldn't comprehend at the time. I was dealing with certain experiences that I've never been through. I had these callings or these intuitions to go out and make a dent into the world. I felt more lonely in my life than I ever had, and there was nobody to express what was going on in my day-to-day, that I couldn't even understand it myself. I had no idea how to comprehend the ideas that I was lonely, but I was so driven that I wanted to make a dent into the world, and I wanted to do good and provide good into the world. So instead, I just went to the gym because it felt easier and it soothed a lot of the internal kinklings that I felt. And on one end, thank you to the gym. I wrote a love letter to the gym on YouTube if you want to check that out, because it's just, yeah, shout out the gym. But all your problems can't be solved underneath a barbell, and you need to break the fourth wall in realizing that you're using it as a means to cope or to solely forget about your problems rather than trying to fix them. And honestly, I'm not perfect. I'm not a fucking perfect individual. I've dealt with a lot of shit, and sometimes I can seemingly evade them or try to skedaddle them or try to shoo them away by going to the gym. But with more time and with more aging, weirdly, 24, you come to find a lot of your patterns, and in discovering and becoming aware of the patterns that you follow through on, you can then begin to change them. And awareness is just the most important and crucial aspect of this whole change process, because what once felt like a way to hide from the world was also a way in how it was making me even lonelier in the world. Yeah. Switching cams. Like, I was going to the gym feeling lonely, and I was contributing to my loneliness because of how often I was inside of the gym. Instead of me not making assumptions, instead of me, showing up with presence, being attentive to the people that were around me, I was actually just contributing to an even worse problem that I wasn't aware of. And I say it again, all your problems can't be solved underneath a barbell. And sometimes you need to do the hardest thing, which is not go to the gym and have the hard conversation. Sometimes the best thing is Not going to the gym so you can be there for your family, so you can have presence, so you can show your face, so you can touch someone, so you can hug someone, so you can hold someone's hand. And treating certain wounds sometimes comes, treating certain wounds back in the day when you originally started felt like going to the gym. Where before, going to the gym was your way of salving these wounds and making the hurt into something more gentle. Going to the gym felt like fixing yourself. But as you age and as you grow and as you start hitting the gym more, you've come to realize that it's not just about the gym that is going to solve and rid your problems. You have to grow up. You have to age. You have to become an adult. You have to do things that are aligned with adulting, not just running away and going to the gym to express and channel those emotions, but by actually doing it in a more harmonious, in a much more harmonious and responsible, accountable manner. Yeah. So, TLDR. Too long, didn't read. The gym is in place for you to solve your problems. All your problems can't be solved underneath a barbell. You can rely on it, you can lean on it, but don't depend on it for when things get hard. Your first place is to be inside of a gym. Lean on it. Understand that this is still a healthy coping mechanism, but there are other ways to salve the wounds rather than trying to deadlift 365 pounds, trying to squat, trying to bench. Okay? Now, and the last one. Yeah. Nobody's going to do it for you. I think I said 7, or I think I said 8. I don't know. But nobody's going to do it for you. It's on you. Like I said before, God gave us the responsibility God gave us the responsibility to have the best obligation, which is to take care of ourselves. We are responsible for everything we do. We are either the creator of our trauma. It's funny, when we age, when we grow up, our parents' experiences, things outside of us are the inception of our trauma. But as we age and we're capable of making decisions and being responsible over things, and we start taking things more into our control, we then become the creators of our trauma. And I like that idea because it kind of ties with what I'm talking about here, which is nobody's going to do it for you. In understanding that you're responsible and accountable for everything that you do, you're responsible for your health, your body, your mindset, your living situation. You're responsible for all of that. And nobody's going to cast a vote. Nobody's going to come with this glove, this mitt, and catch you and take you to the promised land. You have to do it yourself. You're given a temple to take care of, which is your body. You have a brain that is your responsibility to treat and tend to, like going to sleep and not watching too much social media and giving yourself time to rest and recover. Yeah, this is a podcast episode 1000%. Nobody's going to make the change for you. Nobody's going to do your tasks for you. Nobody's going to do it for you. Like, there's no knight in shining armor that's going to come and save you and tell you and motivate you and push you to make ends meet. That is a fallacy. And sometimes you do have people that are in your corner, but they're not in your every single aspect of your day-to-day because you have to do it alone. Just like you're responsible and you have an obligation to take care of yourself, so does someone else. So does someone else have the same obligation for themselves, so they're worried and thinking more about themselves than they are you. You're not the main character in somebody else's life. It's you. You are your own main character in your own life, and they are their own main character in their own life. So understanding that nobody else is going to do the exercises for you. Nobody else is going to move for you. Nobody else is going to eat the healthy foods for you. It's all on you. And the sooner that you can take accountability and responsibility for your everyday actions, the sooner and the more likely you are bound to change into somebody that identifies themselves with doing things that are hard, but feeling proud about themselves for doing it in the first place.